Hey.
I hope. It's me again.
I'm so glad it's you. That's really funny that we both said that at the same time.
I thought I'd try some in.
Yeah. Do you have anything special that you need or want today? No? Okay. Cool. Yeah. We're gonna just take it really easy. Hey Liz, how's it going?
Good, thanks. I'm in a braless pajama situation, so
Yes.
I'm gonna turn my video off, but I'm here with you.
That's the best way to end.
Definitely.
Birthday to your daughter.
Thank you. She's in there enjoying her extra chocolatey hot chocolate. So.
Awesome. That's
All
great.
Right. I won't see you, but I'm here.
Okay, cool. All right, enjoy. Hi, Linda. Good morning. Oh, how you feeling today? Good. All right. So we have just about a minute or so before we're going to get started, and I think that it might be nice. Did we start this way in class last night? Monica, I can't remember. Restorative bridge pose, though. That's where we're gonna begin from. So if you have a block or a rolled up blanket or a bolster nearby, that might be a nice way to just kind of support yourself as we get started this morning. And so this week I am on vacation coverage, and I'll be stopping for Annie, obviously right now, and Thursday morning, and also for Emily tomorrow night in the backyard, if anybody's looking for a little bit of vinyasa time. And as such, I've decided that it might be nice to take a little tiny break from the music, right? Yeah, sometimes it's nice to practice just with the sounds that are going on around us, with these ambient sounds of the birds and the cars passing by, and maybe even our neighbors chatting. Really grounding ourselves in the reality of our environment. And so take a moment here to find a comfortable position, your hips elevated, your arms however they need to be so that your shoulders are comfortable. And let's just punctuate the beginning of practice with a couple of really nice, luxurious, deep breaths. And see if you can keep those deep breaths in and out of the nose if at all possible. Nose breathing is really crucial for helping us achieve some amount of nervous system downshifting. Right? So breaths long and smooth. Body at ease this morning. Eyes soft. Good, and allow the belly to really move with the breath. I just wanted to read you a little piece by the astrologer Heidi Rose Robbins, who writes a little moon note every single day. She is like so dedicated to offering these little moon notes. And today she writes, the moon stays in Scorpio all day today, Pacific time. She's in California. With Mars now in Aries, this is a double warrior energy. Oh man. For many, the warrior energy is fully underway, protesting, healing the sick, trying to make ends meet. But now we dig in even more deeply. We call upon resources we didn't know we had. We summon inner strength and fortitude. Scorpio's battle is primarily within. Our victory is in not letting fear or depression win the day. Yes, we must grieve, rest, and be tender with ourselves. But victory looks like taking the next tiny, proactive, healing, grounded step towards what is true and good. Individually and together, let's hold a vision of what's possible and let's walk in love in that direction. And I just love this idea of taking the next tiny, proactive, healing, grounded step. Great, yeah, and so one of your legs could extend out long here. Both of your legs might extend out long if your lower spine, if your hips are receptive to that kind of movement. You might also consider extending your arms out past your head and loosely clasping your hands overhead, or yeah, grabbing a hold of your elbows is a thing, then feel free to do that too. Why don't we just hang here for another, let's give ourselves like another 2 or 3 minutes here. Each breath, that next tiny, grounded, proactive, healing step. And listen for the sound of your breath. And see if you can keep the mind from its wandering, right? See if you can keep it with you right now. Just about another 7 deep breaths. Good. Okay, and so from here, let's just place the soles of the feet on the floor and take that block out of the way, and you can set your pelvis back down once that block is gone, and extend both of your legs nice and long, reaching those arms overhead, and just a nice big like morning stretch here. So like a vacation morning stretch where you woke up, there was no alarm, you had nowhere to be in particular, there was nothing that you needed to do besides just kind of feel into your body, and maybe just take a couple of moments to move around from here. It might be you keeping that big stretch, or maybe you want to pull your knees in towards your chest and find a little bit of space through the lumbar spine. Okay, allowing those vertebrae to move just apart ever so slightly so that the spongy discs get a little bit more space. Good. And then from here, we're going to extend that left leg out long on the mat, and we're going to take sleeping trees. So just take the sole of the right foot to the inside line of the left leg, let that right knee kind of drop out to the side, You might tuck that right foot underneath your knee or your thigh if that creates a little bit more like of a stable and grounded feeling in the lower body. Good, and for these first 10 breaths or so, just see if you can remain really soft, right? I'm gonna offer up the chance to activate a little bit in just a moment, but for now, what does a soft tree feel like? Those left toes dropping off to the side perhaps. Skin of your temples relaxed. Your heart beating in your chest. Breath coming and going. Right, just another few breaths, totally relaxed. Good, and now maybe a little bit of engagement. So if your arms aren't out past your head, consider doing that, even if they're wide. And then think about flexing that left foot. Really point the toes up towards the ceiling or even draw them back towards your nose to find some space through the Achilles tendon. Good, you might interlace your fingers overhead, flip the palms and press them out. Really like wake up the hands. Yeah, good. Nice. Good, and let's take 5 more breaths here. Wonderful. And when you're ready, come on back through to the center. Let's pull both of the knees in towards the chest. And yeah, just curl up into this little ball. You might rock around on the lower back. You might decide to find some kind of like happy baby situation or even send your feet up towards the ceiling and rotate those ankles around a couple of times. Good. Yeah, what does your body really want this morning? Great. Just a few more breaths here in the middle. Yeah. And then go ahead and set those feet back down to the floor. We're going to press into them just a little bit, pick up the hips and scoot them to the right. And we'll drop the knees over to the left to find a twist. Great. Yeah, and let this twist just be your own today. It could be both of your knees hugged in like you are right now, or maybe you want to send that bottom leg out long and rest that top knee on a block or something. Slide a blanket underneath that right shoulder. Something in between the knees. Great. Taking time to just pause here. To just pause and breathe. And I think we're going to hang on to the twist for 5 minutes. I've been taking my teacher in New York. I've been teaching her, taking her yin training these past couple of weeks, which has been really wonderful way to dive deeply into this practice for my own personal reasons, but also just to learn more. And this concept of holding on to the poses is really kind of at the root of a yin practice. Learning how to be still, even if maybe we don't want to. I like to think about, finding stillness as part of this like greater warrior energy, right? If we are not moving from a place of stillness and knowing, then we are just kind of flailing, I think. So taking time to breathe and just to listen to your own inner voice. Underneath all of the layers of conditioning that our lives kind of builds up in our minds, what's there. And letting your own dust settle. And we're here for just another minute and a half or so. What does the breath feel like as it enters your lungs, expands your ribs, gently rotates the spine? What do you notice around those lower ribs where your diaphragm attaches? Nice. 5 more breaths. Okay, good. And then from here, just roll all the way over onto your left side and then onto your belly into a half frog pose with that right knee pulling up towards the right side of your chest. Good. Finding that little bit of a hip stretch over here. Good. Inner thigh, find some space. You might stack your hands and place your forehead on the backs of your hands, and then move your upper body over to the right a little bit so that your right elbow moves to connect with that right knee. Elbow towards knee. Good, or you might stay centered if that feels better. Perfect. And think about slowing down your breath here to the best of your ability. And again, not doing anything that feels really forceful or distressing, but maybe just stopping at the bottom of that exhale for a brief moment, and then stopping at the top of the inhale, and adding in some space. And just another 2 minutes here. And it might feel nice to turn your head over to the other side. Or maybe that feels really weird and you want to turn it back. We practice these really slow moving poses, these still poses, and really feel into our bodies. When we make these subtle changes, it becomes very obvious that our body is totally connected from head to toe. That we are not just a series of parts, but we are a whole thing, right? We are a whole creature, kind of woven together. All of these subtle changes we make can really make a difference. And last 5 deep breaths here. Hmm. Right, and then let's extend that right leg out nice and long behind. And I think we're gonna move up into a Sphinx pose next, but you might wanna spend a moment in the middle before propping the chest up. Yeah, the choice is yours. When you find your Sphinx pose, notice where the elbows are in relation to the shoulders. And yeah, it might feel nice to take a look up here and stretch through the underside of your jaw and stretch through the throat, and maybe even move your head side to side, really gently looking up. I feel like, you know, with the exception of like a very few yoga poses, we don't do a whole lot of this. Unless we're like cloud gazers or stargazers. Good, so just kind of building that muscle. Good. And then eventually drop the head down and allow the back of the neck to release a little bit. Yeah. And as you feel the back of the neck release, just notice how things are feeling right there at the base of the skull, where your spine connects to your skull. And a whole bunch of pressure points in that area. And soften the muscles of your face. Good. Notice what's going on in your glutes and your hamstrings, and see if that area can soften just a little bit too. And if you notice that your lower back starts to feel iffy, of course you can always engage there a little bit. It's a nice, you know, protective measure. Good. We're going to revisit Sphinx pose when we do the other side. But for now, just a simple, relaxed variation. Letting the belly fall towards the floor. And just allowing the spine to move into a shape that it doesn't normally see with our daily habitual movements. And then finally, while you're here, what are you feeling and where are you feeling it? See if you can hone in on the sensations. Good, another 5 deep breaths. Okay. And then we're going to set ourselves down and return to our backs and pull the knees in towards the chest, just to help relieve a little bit of that compression on the lower back. Yeah. And as you pull the knees in towards the chest, it might feel nice to pick your head up and bring your forehead to your knees, or maybe you just want to like rock your head from side to side and feel the back of the head making contact with the floor. Right, good. Oh my, we have a whole other side to do. I'm trying to remember which one. I think the right leg extends out long here. And then we're going to take sleeping tree pose with that left foot connecting to the inner line of the right leg, or maybe even tucking underneath the knee or the thigh, and just letting yourself be really relaxed and soft in this pose at first. You know, these first 10 breaths just to let the muscles kind of find some ease, and notice how your joints are feeling. Notice what your breathing has turned into in this pose. this time here in your body on this morning. Every day is something a little different, perhaps. And I think when contacting this energy of fierceness, this warrior-like energy, it's important to honor the energy that you're carrying around within you on any given day, right? And so taking this time, all of this time to check in, to observe and to honor your own self, your own body, and energy and mind today. Allowing yourself to settle. Good, and now if you would like to activate this pose, go ahead and activate it, reaching those arms out long past your head, flexing through that right foot, almost as if you're like standing on it. And notice what happens to the muscles of that right leg, what happens to the muscles of the belly and the back as you send those arms out past your head. We'll just take 5 breaths or so here. Perfect. Good. And then let's bring that left knee to point up, right sole of the foot comes to the ground next to the left foot. And then just press into the feet, lift the hips and scoot them off to the left and drop your knees on over to the right, I think. Yeah. Finding your twist over here. And again, just remembering that support can be really, really lovely in a yin practice, especially if things feel like iffy or somewhat painful, right? And we all know the difference between like discomfort, like mild discomfort, and iffiness, right? Iffiness is like when we're kind of on the edge of maybe doing something not so great to that joint. And mild discomfort is that feeling of like, okay, I can sit with this. Of course, pain is a ticket right out of the pose. Building your understanding of the difference between these things, building some discernment. And letting yourself be here in these next 5 minutes. Beautiful. Alright, so the last time we hung out in this pose, we brought some attention down into the lower ribs. You might want to spend a few moments there again, thinking about just observing the quality of the movement there, how much or how little things are moving. Or you might bring your attention up into the heart area, front to back, side to side, top to bottom. Observing sensation around your shoulder blades and through your collarbones. Nice. Just about another minute and a half or so. Good. Another few breaths here. Right, and then we'll roll all the way over onto the right side and then onto our belly, keeping that left knee up towards the left side of the chest, looking for that half round shape. So just kind of mimicking that sleeping tree just on our bellies this time and noticing how, even though our body is in a very similar shape, how different it feels to be here as compared to in that tree pose perhaps. Yeah, if you want to stack the hands and rest your forehead on the back of your hands, slide your left elbow down towards your left knee, that's a thought. Perfect. Another 7 breaths or so right here. Right. Wonderful. And when you're ready, go ahead and extend that left leg nice and long behind you. And we're just going to prop ourselves up into one more Sphinx pose. And that Sphinx pose could be, the same Sphinx pose, elbows under the shoulders, or you might turn it into your seal pose, pressing into the hands, lifting up those elbows if your lower back enjoys that kind of movement. And maybe it's pointy-toed seal where you bend at the knees, point your toes up towards the ceiling, and find a little bit of space through the quads. Good. Really finding that deep stretch through the deep core muscles. Nice. You're noticing the balance between the collarbones and the shoulder blades, and the front and the back body, belly and lumbar spine. And why don't we just take another 5 breaths or so right here. Right, and then setting yourself back down, chest to the floor. Let's take a moment to windshield wiper the lower legs from side to side. You might even take the feet around in like a big lazy circle in this direction and then that direction. Good. And giving your knees a tiny little bit of a massage, pressing them against the floor. And then we're gonna take a child's pose. So this could be a supported child's pose with a little something underneath the tops of your feet or underneath your chest. A little bit of like a blanket ramp or a bolster ramp situation might be kind of nice. A bunch of pillows from your bed, whatever's around. If your knees feel really tricky in a child's pose, you might pad underneath the knees and then lift the hips up above the knees and slide into something that more resembles like a puppy pose with your arms out long in front of you. Yeah, I think I spent the first dozen years of my practice or so really truly believing that child's pose was an easy pose. And the more my body goes through, the more I recognize that that's just not true. That there's a lot going on here in your hips and your knees and your ankles. And then it might not always be comfortable. But for maybe 15 breaths or so, let's take some time to send the breath into the back plane of the body and specifically into your back between your shoulders and the top of your pelvis. Hamstrings all tucked away. Good, feeling the skin of the back meeting your clothing. Back ribs spreading out on the inhale and snuggling back together on the exhale. Yeah, arms any style, of course. Another few deep breaths right here. Great. And then I think we're going to shift into a downward facing dog. So just a couple moments to extend those arms out, to lift the hips up and back, and to do those little things that you like to do here in your downward facing dog. Okay, performing your rituals. Good, your head heavy. And think about maybe like playing around with the sitting bones a little bit. So you might think about like tipping the sitting bones up really high, and then you might think about kind of like dropping them down, knitting them into the backs of the hamstrings, just a touch. You know, almost like a pelvic tilt in your downward facing dog, and then settling on someplace in the middle. Good. Fingers spread nice and wide here. Good. Just another few deep breaths. Great. And send your feet towards your hands, or your hands back towards your feet for a standing forward fold. Good. And here again, the head's so heavy. The eyes really soft. In class on Sunday, in Yin on Sunday, we focused on the urinary bladder meridian, which is, I mean, it's really all over the body. It starts at your tear ducts, and it ends at the edge of your pinky toe, and it runs down your back, and there are just like dozens of points, but many of them are located in your back, between your shoulders and your tailbone. And this is the meridian that's responsible for our fear response. It's responsible for us feeling like we're closed off and rigid if things get hard. So taking just a little bit of time to allow some openness through the back of the neck, head. Thinking about surrendering the weight of the head down. The idea is to become more open to our own challenges, right? To become a little bit more permeable, not so closed off. Sometimes we open ourselves up to our challenges, and we can begin to notice what the solutions might be. Rather than running away, what can we actually do? And what small, healing, proactive step can we take? Okay, just another 5 deep breaths in your standing forward fold. And then I think it might be nice to actually stand up this morning, like all the way. So when you're ready, go ahead and stand up and just find some extension through the arms. Maybe you're like the letter Y here. Or you might loosely interlace your fingers and press your knuckles up, or even press your palms out past your head. And yeah, if you feel inclined to take like a little baby back bend here, hands to the lower back, that is thought. It's a possibility. Good. Just a moment or two here. Yeah, a lot of space through the front of the body. Good. And then eventually, we'll all bring our hands to the hips and kind of widen through the feet. And we're going to lower down into something squat-like on our way to our seat. So really, I guess any way you want to get to your seat is fine. But yeah, just offering up the potential for something kind of squat-like if your hips are feeling it today. Good. And as you find your seat, I'm thinking of a caterpillar pose this morning. So inspired by all the woolly bears I saw out in the woods this weekend. They're already out. Yeah, so let's maybe take a blanket and slide it underneath the knees. The legs are going to be long. And we're not aiming for like perfect angles here, any kind of engagement really, but just let the toes drop off to the sides and then walk your hands down your legs and just curl in on yourself here. Hang on to this one for a little while too. I'm thinking of maybe just about 5 minutes or so. Yeah, it's not always easy or comfortable. Let's see if we can just take it breath by breath. This inhale and this exhale and the next. Good. Just about 3 more minutes remaining here in this pose. Okay, just about another 5 deep breaths. Right, and then we're going to find our backs for good old Shavasana. Everybody's favorite, or not, I don't know. Maybe it's not your favorite. And we're gonna spend a little bit of time after Shavasana in a seated position for just a little bit of breath work. But yeah, so taking this time on your back to arrange your body so that your lower back kind of rebounds a little bit from maybe the discomfort that came up during that caterpillar pose. So it might feel nice to send the legs nice and long, or you might take reclined bound angle, or there could be constructive rest with your knees pointing up to help kind of neutralize the curves of your back, spine. And just taking this really sweet little pause here on your back and checking in one more time with the qualities of the energy that's flowing through you this morning. The contents of your mind, and the speed at which those thoughts are flowing through. Observing and honoring yourself here. Good. Just another few deep breaths, maybe 5 or so. Go ahead and start to make some movements that make sense to you. Release the chest, maybe rocking over to one side or the other. And eventually we're all gonna sit up and just get kind of comfy in a seated position for a couple of minutes of a mudra and some breathing. And this morning I'm thinking about Uttar Bodhi Mudra, which is the cosmic lightning rod. So it's interlacing your 3 fingers, middle through pinky fingers. Index finger is going to point up, and then that thumb is going to point down. So it sort of looks like this. Good, and then you're going to flip it so that your index finger and your thumb are sort of close to the heart. And just hold this up here. And see if you can keep, this nice like frame with the upper body, but without all the rigidity. Good, and lifting the crown of the head up. He had said that this cosmic lightning rod or this mudra is a way for us to open ourselves to receiving some sort of information, right, from the world around us. Just being open to receive, allowing yourself to feel illuminated and clear. Good. A few breaths. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and release our hands. Oh, my fingers are always like, what was that? So give them a little wiggle. And then we're gonna take a breath called piercing the sun, which is a really nice contrast to a yin yoga practice. This is a yang breath, but it's a really calm and easygoing yang breath, so I really dig it. We're going to take one of your fingers and just block off your left nostril and inhale through the right. And then exhale out of both. Good, block the left, inhale through the right. Exhale out of both. Good, and just 8 more rounds. Inhale right. Exhale both. At your own pace. Good, one more. Right, and then just let your hands find your heart, stacking one on top of the other. A deep breath in to lift the heart up, to broaden those collarbones, to sit up really tall and dignified. And then a big breath out, drop your head down towards your hands and your heart, honoring your practice and honoring each other too on this beautiful morning. Ah, yay. Thanks for being here, everybody. You can unmute yourself if you're feeling it. Whoops. Oh, bye. I'll see you really soon.